Welcome back. We're here with another story. Before we dive into the story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and leave a comment. When we were young, we used to go to the village every weekend. Our village house had a very spacious garden. All the kids from the village would gather there, and we'd play together. Still, there were always some empty spaces. The garden was just that large. My sibling and I are two brothers, and at that time, my sibling was 6 years old. We loved going to the village. There were many children in the village. Unlike other villages, this one was more lively. Whenever we were there, the children wouldn't leave our garden until evening. It was one of those days. My sibling was playing downstairs with the other kids while I was resting at home. There was a cliff-like area at the edge of our garden. God forbid, anyone who fell from there would certainly die. That's why our garden was surrounded by wooden planks. We could only enter and exit through the gate. These planks weren't short enough for us to climb. That day, as I was sitting at home, I heard the children shouting, their voices echoing throughout the village. When I looked out the window, I saw my sibling climbing those planks for a moment. They had climbed all the way to the top of the plank, and believe me, even I couldn't climb up there. It was impossible for a 6-year-old child to reach there. The children were all shouting together, calling out to us. We all rushed to the door. Despite telling my sibling, "Stop, don't do it, don't climb," it was as if they couldn't hear us. They didn't even look back. We called out their name, we screamed, we started running towards them, but they didn't listen to us at all. Eventually, they reached the top of those planks and stood upright. They reached out their hand towards the opposite side, the void. We were racing against seconds. At that moment, my father ran up and grabbed them. We were all in tears, but my sibling was staring blankly. "Where is she? Where is she?" they asked. "Who are you looking for?" we asked. Down below, a woman was calling out to me. She had a bunch of toys in her hand. She promised to give me all the toys. "Where is that woman?" We all looked outside in shock from the incident, but she wasn't there. We asked for a description of the woman. She was wearing a long dress, black clothes. She had toys in her hands. "She fell asleep," my sibling said. This woman had called out to my sibling. She said she would give them all the toys if they came down. At first, my sibling said if they came down, they would fall and get hurt, but the woman tricked them. "Nothing will happen. I will hold you from here. I've held so many kids before. I've given toys to all of them. I'll give them to you too, I promise. Jump, look at you, you've grown so big, you're not afraid. You can jump," she said. Whatever happened, my sibling believed her. If we hadn't reached them a little later, my sibling would have jumped from there. The woman had convinced them so much that she was still angry with us. "Why did you stop me?" she asked. She was upset because she couldn't have the toys. We tried to explain to her in an appropriate manner. We told her that the woman was a liar, that we didn't know who she was, but if my sibling had jumped from there, they would have definitely died. I wouldn't have died. She was going to hold me. She has held many children before, they said. We didn't even know who she was talking about. According to what the other children said, he started climbing there without talking to anyone, without saying anything to anyone, and he doesn't even remember how he climbed. He just suddenly appeared up there. Anyway, this incident shocked us greatly. Let me tell you, if that place were unsafe, if the boards there were low, no one would send their child there. But everyone's child was in our garden until evening, and none of their parents thought of such a thing because my grandfather really made his surroundings very reliable. Neither climbing nor falling down was impossible. But my brother, at the age of 6, managed to climb up there. This incident taught us a lesson. My grandfather raised the height of the boards. We increased the security measures. So, regardless of which child was in the garden, the adults would always keep watch. Was it 2 days later, 3 days later? I can't remember exactly. I heard the door of our room open in a sleepy state. My brother and I were sleeping in the room, so whoever came out of the room was definitely my brother. I was so sleepy that it didn't even occur to me to get up. I thought he must have gone to the bathroom. If he was scared, My mom and dad would wake up anyway, so I said I'd continue sleeping. But I had a feeling in my heart. I couldn't sleep at all. My brother was constantly on my mind. The light wasn't on when I went to the bathroom. "Oh my God," I said, "where else could this kid go?" I went into my mom and dad's room. He wasn't there either. They were sleeping too. I didn't panic. I didn't want to. I closed the door slowly. I looked everywhere in the house, but my brother wasn't there. I felt like opening the door and looking outside. My brother was in the garden, but who was that woman? My brother was in the woman's arms. The woman was taking my brother away, showing him something far away. My brother was laughing, rejoicing as he went in the woman's arms. I was very surprised by what I saw. I called out to my brother. I shouted, but he didn't hear me at all. No matter how much I shouted, he didn't look. Only the woman turned and looked, and she was very ugly and scary, as if saying, "Don't shout, don't make a sound." As soon as I saw the woman's face, I ran home. I woke everyone up at home. "They kidnapped my brother," I said. Even though my mom said there was no one at home, she searched all the rooms for my brother. "We're wasting time, the woman took him," I said. Finally, my dad understood me, went outside, and started running. But he didn't know which way to go. I couldn't see which way they went either. We were just shouting and crying from somewhere. We couldn't do anything. That day was the most terrifying day of my life. We were going crazy thinking something would happen to my brother. My mom had started beating herself, as if the news of my brother's death had come. This was the last thing we should have done. Right now, we should be looking for my brother. Even at my age, I could understand this, but my mom had already given up on herself. He was fainting in the garden. All the neighbors who heard his voice had joined us. They were looking for my brother with us, calling out to him within the village, but there was no response from my brother. Then the villagers pulled me aside. The imam of the village was also there. "Who kidnapped him? What kind of woman was it? Describe her," they said. She was a very frightening woman, so frightening that she resembled a creature. "She was like Azrael," I said. When I said that, they understood more or less what I meant. The imam immediately pulled me aside. "Tell me from the beginning, what happened," he said. So I told him everything from beginning to end. The imam started reciting in our garden, while the others were searching. I was with the imam. He told me I needed to stay with him. Because questions would come to his mind occasionally, he would ask them. The man read for a long time. He walked around the garden. He touched the boards as if he was feeling something, understanding something. He told me to open my hands. "Pray," he said. Then, he also opened his. We prayed together to find my brother. "Look, it has been 1 or 2 minutes since this prayer," he said. My brother started calling out to us from the house, sticking his head out of the window, shouting at us. My joy was echoing through the village. Of course, my parents said, "Run, we found him," I said. Everyone rushed to our house. Suddenly my brother was fine, but he was covered in mud, especially his shoes, as if they were completely submerged in mud. "What happened to you? Where were you? Who took you?" I said. "I didn't go anywhere. I was at home," said my brother. "What's with this condition then?" "Your shoes." "If you didn't go anywhere, did you sleep in your shoes?" I said. "And they've become muddy. Look where you've been. Tell the truth," I said. "I didn't go anywhere. I just had a dream." "In my dream, they made me fall into the mud," said my mother's brother. She kept kissing his muddy face. Our hearts were in our mouths. Thank God he was found, or rather he came back on his own. The imam couldn't explain how this happened. He just made an amulet containing verses from the Quran for my brother. We put that amulet on my brother, but we were curious about the essence of the incident. Why did this happen? How did it happen? My parents started investigating as soon as we returned from the village. We found a scholar. I don't know how much of it is true and how much is a lie. He told us the following. The incident was related to my father. According to what the scholar said, of course, my father accidentally killed the witch's child. This Jinn woman took revenge by taking my brother and was going to take him to her realm and make him her child. According to the scholar, she didn't take him with the intention of killing him, but if he could go to that realm, he wouldn't be able to come back again. Thank God, the prayers recited by the imam had an effect. They brought my brother back and left him inside the house. And we're also thankful in this respect. My brother thought these were just dreams. If he knew it was real, he would definitely lose his mind. Look at what he experienced at that age. He wouldn't be able to pull himself together when he grew up. My brother still thinks it's a dream. We've never told him the truth. Perhaps one day, when she reaches her 20s, I'll tell her, even after years have passed, I couldn't forget the woman's face. It wasn't a face to be forgotten. Thank God my sister doesn't even remember the woman's face. I asked her. Actually, I was curious if a woman remembers it, but she said she doesn't remember. Then my mother started to read for my sister constantly. While eating, going to bed, even while sleeping, she always recited prayers. Actually, the danger is not over for my sister. Because Jinn can be very vengeful. Even years later, they might still be waiting for their revenge. Thankfully, it hasn't come yet. But we need to find a good imam and make a deal with them to solve this problem, but finding a good imam is really impossible. Hopefully, they've stopped bothering my family and my sister. If you've listened this far, it means you like the story. Don't forget to like and comment before closing. I read all your comments. See you in new stories. Goodbye.